and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is me. The ayes have it, and it's ordered that bill be read a second time.
A bill for the appropriation of the sum of $295,190,261 for the year to pay the expenses of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for capital development for the financial year ending the 30th of June 2014.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act.
Seconded.
It's moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is me. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Real Property Tax Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Real Property Tax Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is me. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Real Property Tax Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Business License Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Business License Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. The ayes have it, ordered that the bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Business License Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that the bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that the bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed should say nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading committee of a bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed should say nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers should say nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Utilities Regulation and Compensation Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Utility Regulation and Competition Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Clifton Heritage Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Clifton Heritage Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers should say nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill now be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Clifton Heritage Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Bridge Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded.
It's moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Bridge Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers should say nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Bridge Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Financial Administration and Audit Act to provide for the establishment of a public procurement department within the Ministry of Finance and for connected matters.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Financial Administration and Audit Act to provide for the establishment of a public procurement department within the Ministry of Finance and for connected matters be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill now be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Financial Administration and Audit Act to provide for the establishment of a public procurement department within the Ministry of Finance and for connected matters.
Madam President, I move the second reading in committee of a bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading and committal of a bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill now be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading and committal of a bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act be read the second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill now be read a second time.
A bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act.
Madam President, I move the second reading and committal of an act to provide for the imposition and collection of excise taxes and for connected purposes.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to provide for the imposition and collection of excise taxes and for connected purposes be read a second time. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it. Ordered now that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to provide for the imposition and collection of excise taxes and for connected purposes.
Madam President, I move the second reading and committal of a bill for an act to make new provisions for the imposition and collection of customs duties and give effect to the harmonized system of tariff and for connected purposes.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to make new provisions for the imposition and collection of customs duties and to give effect to the harmonized system of tariff and for connected purposes be read a second time and committed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a second time.
A bill for an act to make new provisions for the imposition and collection of customs duties and to give effect to the harmonized system of tariff and for connected purposes.
Madam President, I move that the Senate to resolve itself into a committee of the whole Senate and that the Vice President to take the chair.
It's moved and seconded that the Senate now resolve itself into a committee of the whole, the Vice President and the Chair. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The ayes have it, and it is so ordered.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I move a 5-minute adjournment.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the Senate committee, suspend the Committee of the Whole for 5 minutes. As many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The Committee of the Whole do now stand suspended. Seconded by the bill for an act for the appropriation of diverse sum of money for and towards defraying the expenses of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas on revenue account for the financial year commencing the 1st of July 2013 and ending the 30th of June 2014, long and short title be agreed. As many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. The short and long title have been agreed. Go to the heads.
Madam, Mr. Vice Chair, I move that heads 1, 2, and 3 be agreed.
Second.
The question is that heads 1, 2, and 3 be agreed. As many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Heads 1, 2, and 3 have been agreed.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that head 4 be agreed.
Second.
The question is that head 4 be agreed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Vice President, I have a question on the Head 4, Block 50, item number 522800. Block 50, item 522800, tuition, training, in-service awards, and subsistence. Madam AG, the item was increased to $45,000 in 2012-2013. It is now being decreased by $33,734, which is the majority of a large amount. Could we get an explanation as to what the large decrease in tuition, training, and in-service awards is for?
Thank you, Senator Thompson. Senator Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Mr. Chair, if you would look at the expenditure in this area, in 2010-11 it was 0. There was a provision for the expenditure in 11-12 at 14. There was the thought that it would be increased, I would imagine, to 45,000. And I'm quite satisfied, as you will find throughout this entire budget, that wherever when we found that the money was in fact not being spent, it was simply removed from that line. And so we would have found that actually the provision of $11,000 is a realistic provision for what actually happens in practice in the ministry.
As many as are in favor that head 4 be agreed would say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Head 4 is agreed.
Mr. Chairman, will head 5 be agreed?
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 5 be agreed. As many? The The chair recognizes Senator Hunt.
Mr. Vice President, a question. Item block number 50, item 575200.
Can you repeat that, please?
Page 26. Block number 50. Line 575200. Insurance premiums, law enforcement and nursing officers, and we query the difference in the 7.229, sorry, 7.229, 497, and the explanation for the large amount in the decrease in insurance premiums. Mr. Vice Chair, I will stand to be corrected, but I'm fairly certain that this is the result of being able during this period to get a better quote on the insurance premium. That is a $7 million difference. We were able to save $7 million.
The question is that head 5, we agree as many. So in favor, say aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it. Head 5 has been agreed.
Head 6 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 6 now be agreed. As many?
Mr. Vice President.
Chair recognizes Senator Hunt.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, page 32, block number 2, we see item number 028300, the responsibility allowance. We see an increase in $21,500, and we wonder what the increase is for.
Chair recognizes Senator Gibson.
I am not sure what that is about, but I will undertake to find out. For the questions in this head, Mr. Chairman, page 34, under block 50, national events. The item is 542420. 542
National events.
420 national events. National events has been decreased by $150,000, and we just would like to understand why this year particularly that the national events has been decreased.
Chair recognizes Senator Gibson.
I believe that what we're trying to do here is to be more realistic about what is in fact spent. You will see that if you look at the trend, you will see that in fact when that provision was made for almost $1 million in 11-12, that wasn't spent. And probably the sum that was to be spent in 12-13 wasn't spent. And so we were decreasing it to represent what is in fact. Again, this is a realistic projections.
Next 5 years. We're coming back on
The question is that head 6 do now be agreed. As many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Votes against? No. The ayes have it. Head 6 has been agreed.
I move that head 7 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 7 be agreed. As many?
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
Chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
On page 38, this would be under the post establishments, under post 17. There's a deduction with respect to the assistant counsel in the Ministry of in the Office of the Attorney General. Just a question with respect to, does the government have allocated in this line or any of the other lines the item with respect to any additional Attorney General counsel to assist with respect to the additional 10 courts that, and if it is not, do we anticipate having some additional funding for those additional Attorney General's counsel? But before that, I think the question is, would they be needed for the additional courts? And if they are needed, whether there's any allocation for them or whether there's going to be additional funding for them.
Senator Gibson?
Madam, Mr. Vice Chair, with your permission, may I please answer the question generally about the plan that has been announced by the Prime Minister, and it's the constant question as to how is it going to be paid for, and that's at the root of this question, I believe. I would just ask colleagues to note that there was provision made, as the colleagues on our side have indicated, for there to be 14 Supreme Court judges. We have agreed previously that they would be funded. Then the law is passed for there to be, and they are funded in this budget, the 14.
The present 14.
The present 14. Then the law is passed for the 20 judges and everything else, all the other support that I indicated to you. The Prime Minister already said a budget is a budget. And there will be things that, it's an evolving thing, we're going to come back to as other revenue measures, and there will be coming back to with other expenditure measures as well. And that is one of the things. For example, we will have to, the law provides for how many judges, how judges are paid.
Yes.
But we'll have to, are we going to have, will they all be Bahamian judges or non-Bahamian? That will have implications. There will be implications for whenever the Strawn Commission's report has been tabled, has been accepted by us, the House, by Parliament. And those are the things that we'll come back to Parliament with. In relation to the public defenders,
Yes.
there will have to be, once ads are placed, we'll see, those salaries will have to be negotiated and all of that. And so we'll actually have a firm picture to come back with at some point in the future. Obviously, government expenditures must be approved by Parliament, and they will be approved by Parliament.
I just wanted a clarification on AG.
Sorry, one more thing.
Yes.
It would be, although the provision is made in the law, it's really up to the Chief Justice to decide that he actually, we can't pull here we here are the legislature and the executive. Once he indicates that he wishes to have the extra numbers, that's when we act.
I just wanted to clarify, there are presently 14 judges, and you have allocated funds for those 14 judges. You had indicated 20 judges. Is that an additional 20 to the 14, or there's an additional 6? So up to 20?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of the same head?
Yes.
Senator Hunt?
We're on page 37. In post 14, 15, and 16, and 17 is the same question, Madam Attorney General. We note that the numbers for various levels of counsel in the Office of Attorney General remain the same from the 2012-2013 budget to this budget. Yet in post number 14, Chief Counsel, post number 15, Senior Counsel, and post number 17, Assistant Counsel, we see reductions. And we just query an explanation of that.
I go back to what I said earlier, and that is that in this budget, we want to have accurate figures. And you will find throughout the budget, and this is the same reference to the Ministry of Education. Over an 18-month period, as the Minister said, he actually found $6 million in savings in his budget. It was not being utilized. There were no people there. And so it was taken out.
Streamline.
So we want to have Thank you for that. It's a streamlined, factual, actual budget. Okay, so we have not cut any staff. We just put down the actual figures here.
Thank you, Senator Gibson. Senator Thompson.
I'm looking ahead, Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, we're on page 43 under block 50 under item 542610 legal aid. It appears that there's been an average amount of between, one year it was 85,000, 1 year 57,000, 1 year 100,000, and this year there's a significant decrease of 75,000. The question is the 25,000 sufficient for what is happening or what you anticipate happening in legal aid for the year? I didn't hear in your contribution a specific sort of reference to the legal aid, so if we could just get an understanding of what the Attorney General's office does to provide legal aid, and then why is it being reduced?
Senator Gibson.
This item is actually the item, and I'm looking at my finance office as I speak, where there's provision for the crown briefs. May I go down in just a minute?
Sure.
Well, they can't come within the precinct.
No, you got it in the box.
They can't come within here.
That's what you think happening. And 360 secret. We need to find this. We need that next week in the box. We'd be here all night. Yeah, break it up in the other box. We just spend. That's what we doing gallons. Because we start this. You know, this is the Yeah, I agree with that. Look at it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Okay. What this item is for is actually to obtain forensic evidence. Now that we have a forensic pathologist at the hospital, that item is in somebody else's budget, and it saved us that amount of money. That's the way it was. We all prepared the budget. This one. That's what's real. That's why it's real.
So what?
Same. Okay, page number 44, block 90, item number 911164. The question is, we noted a reduction in $300,000 to the law school, the Bahamas Law School, and we wish an explanation as to the reason for the decrease, and further, if the Honorable Attorney General would advise whether the budget allocation includes the furtherance of the plans that the government indicated previously about the building of the new law school facilities.
The answer is, again, that we think that is a more realistic figure.
And the law school construction and plans.
The construction of the law school we dealt with in the capital.
The question. Yeah. The question is that head 7 can now be agreed. As many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Votes against? No. The ayes have it. Head 7 has been agreed.
And we'll go ahead and be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 8 be agreed. As many? Chair recognizes Solomon.
One question, quick question, page 47, post number 41, the administrative cadet. We note that it's a new post with a salary of $85,000, well, allocation $85,050. Is that a salary, and what is the administrative cadet?
Thank you.
You shouldn't ask a question, you should just leave it and sneak it in for you to bring you in. You understand? Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Senator Gibson.
Thank you. This sum is for the engagement and training, actually, as well, of persons with a master's degree in HR. Not one person.
So it's a, okay, do you have
More than one person.
so we don't know at the moment or estimate of how many persons?
I can take it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on head 8? The question is that head 8 do now be agreed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against, no. Head 8 has been agreed.
Okay. You can agree now.
Move the head 9 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 9 to now be agreed. As many as are in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. Head 9 has been agreed.
Move the head 10 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 10 be agreed. As many? Chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At page 63, under head 50, block 50, under item 542940, administration of the Freeport office. There's a deduction of 19,000 under head 10,
63.
page 63, block 50, under item 542940, administration of Freeport office. There's a deduction of $19,800 from the administration, just in terms of what the deduction was for, and the Freeport office was making, and still is making, I think, some very good advances, and whether that would affect anything.
The Freeport is indeed making excellent advances, and I want to compliment the team there in Grand Bahama. But if you would look at the position in 2010-11 and today, you'll see that, again, we've got a realistic figure there.
Further questions on head 10? The question is that head 10 do now be agreed. As many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Head 10 has been agreed.
I move that heads 11, 12, and 13 be agreed. You have a question on 12? Let's do 11. 11 be agreed. You have a question on 12? I move that head 11 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 11 be agreed. As many as are in favor, you say aye. Aye. Those against, no. Head 11 has been agreed.
I move that head 12 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 12 be agreed. As many? Chair recognizes Senator Hunt.
Yes, question relating to election expenses, page 77. We're in block number 50, item 542-510, election expenses. Our question is this allocation, where we note the decrease of $250,000, and we query whether the allocation is sufficient in light of the government's stated intention to hold a constitutional referendum during this budget period.
Thank you. Senator Bell?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair, it is sufficient in light of what the government intends to do. That would deal with the operational expenses of the department.
Thank you. Further questions on head 12? Head 12. The question is that head 12 will now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 12 has been agreed.
Mr. Chair, I move that head 13 be agreed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that head 13 be now agreed. As many? The chair recognizes Senator Hunt.
Mr. Chairman, block 50, page number 84, several line items in relation to operation expenses. At the bottom, starting at line number 543127, operational expenses Cuba, going down to, well, all of the operational expenses. There's been tremendous increase on each line. I wouldn't, read them line for line, Mr. Chairman, but we just wish an explanation. In some cases, it's double of what the budget was in the last budget period. Some cases over that, so we wish an explanation, please. One example here, operational expenses in Cuba is up $373,000 plus, and the last budget period is $168,600. That's a more than double what it was, and that's repeated for the Beijing office, as well as the embassy in Haiti, as well as the UN mission in New York, and the Consul General in New York, and the Bahamas High Commission in Canada.
Senator Gibson.
What's happening here, colleague, is that the Bahamas government is making sure that our international relations as are conducted from our embassies, consulate offices, high commissions are properly staffed and equipped. And to do that, we found, for example, in the High Commission in the UK, that building had not been maintained for a number of years. And we're finding this in all of the missions, okay? And so, of course, we are a sovereign nation. We want in our international relations to make it very, very clear. Image, as the minister himself said this morning, is extremely important. And so the way that we present, we're paying attention to properly equipping our diplomatic overseas missions, and that's what that's all about.
Further questions on 13? Head 13?
May I also add, sorry, that if we look at the cost of doing business in these places, that also has an impact. Insurance, electricity, etc., and that has also been factored in.
Thank you. Further questions on head 13? The question is that head 13 do now be agreed. As many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 13 has been agreed.
I move the heads 14 through 17 be agreed.
Seconded.
moved and seconded that heads 13 through 17 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor, you say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Heads 13 through 17 have been agreed.
I move that head 18 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 18 do now be agreed. As many? The chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, at page 114, under block 1, under item 011100, salary contractual workers, monthly, there's a new allocation of 470.
Can you repeat that again for me, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Page 114, under block 1,
Yes.
item 011100, salary, contractual workers, monthly. This appears to be a new line. Is this an allocation for the Department of Local Government to hire new contractual workers? And if it is, is it an allocation for new contractual workers?
It's not a line for new contractual workers. What has happened is that contractual workers that had been previously contractual workers were reflected in permanent and pensionable, and they are not permanent and pensionable. So what has happened now is that those who are in fact contractual workers are are separated and put in their own line item for all of the ministries. They're not new employees.
Further questions on head 18? The question is that head 18 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye. Those against, no. Head 18 has been agreed.
I move that heads 19 to 28 be agreed.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
The question is that heads 19 to 28 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Heads 19 through 28 have been agreed.
I move that head 29 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 29 be agreed. As many? The chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 189, under block 90, under item 911934, National Intelligence Agency, there's a new allocation for the National Intelligence Agency of $100,000. Could the minister indicate what are the functions of the National Intelligence Agency, and could the minister indicate what the $100,000, how will that $100,000 be spent?
Senator Bell?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. The $100,000, well, first of all,
Chairman.
Mr. Chair, sorry. In respect to the first part of your question as it relates to the functions, as you would appreciate, the National Intelligence Agency is a new agency under this government. It is still in its embryonic stages, so that is being ironed out. As far as the sum of $100,000, that is for the initial setup of the office of the National Intelligence Agencies, that is rent, to also facilitate the acquisition of furniture, etc., for the office. And as you would appreciate, we have a director in place. And so we are moving ahead to establish the office and set it up. And we would subsequently see legislation that's in this budget year as it relates to that agency.
Thank you, Senator Bell. Further questions on the head 29?
Just as a follow-up, I want to thank Senator Bell. Follow-up question to that is the, you said he's the chairman? Or he's a director? Is the director functioning today, and what are his specific functions?
As I indicated, it is something new, and we want to ensure that we set it up properly, and we want to ensure that the agency has sufficient teeth to operate. And so we are, even though we have identified a director, we have to put in place legislation, and that is where we are at this stage.
Thank you, Senator Bell. Further questions on the head 29? The question is that head 29 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Head 29 has been agreed.
I move that heads 30 through 32 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that heads 30 through 32 be agreed. As many as are in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Heads 30 through 32 have been agreed.
I move that head 33 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 33 be agreed. As many? Chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under head 33, page 217, in post 52. This item has allocation for one driver, but it is a new allocation, but it appears as though the funds allocated for the driver salary is $56,317. Could the minister indicate why the amount of $56,317 is allocated and there's only allocation for one driver?
Thank you, Senator Thompson.
Because it's more than one driver. It's typographical error.
Very good.
Further questions on the head 33? The question is that head 33 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 33 has been agreed.
I move head 34 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that head 34 be agreed. As many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Head 34 has been agreed.
I move head 35 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 35 be agreed. As many? The chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this relates to some of the items that we had raised in our debate. We're looking at page 244, under block 50. Under item 522830, the School Quality Assurance Program. It has been reduced by $250,000. Could we get an explanation as to why the amount of $250,000 was deducted from the school quality assurance program. And would the minister not agree that it is lower than in all of the other previous years? And if it is lower than all of the other previous years, whether that would be sufficient to cover the cost or expansion of the school quality assurance program?
Thank you. Senator Gibson.
It is in line with the figure that was provided in 2010-11, and we, as I indicated, on the way forward in our budgets, we intend to reflect accurately what we expect the expenditure has been. And if you see, if you look at this and all of the others that you have asked about and will continue to ask about perhaps, you have seen decreases because there was this provision that actually was not in fact spent on that particular line item, and so we wish to reflect accurately what we expect the expenditure to be on that line item given the historical performance over the previous years.
Those are actuals rather than projected.
We are projected.
I mean, in terms of the performance previous.
Well, we look at the, if we look at the, being precise as Senator Thompson has been, 10-11 is expenditure provisional. It hasn't been signed off at, but we have a fair idea of what it is. 11-12 is provisional also. Okay. And we are giving estimates. For 12-13 we haven't brought it in finally, and we're now doing 13-14. But when we look at what we have in hand and what has in fact been spent on those line items, we want to actually put there what history has shown is likely to be spent on those items.
Thank you very much. Further questions on Head 35? The chair recognizes Senator Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Point you to page 242. 242. Item 011100. Block 1. Regards to salary for contractual workers. And we see that is a new line item of $4,051,742. We would be very grateful for an explanation as to the nature of these contractual works.
Thank you, Senator Boston. I think I just explained that a few items ago, but I have no problem explaining it again. Previously, contractual workers were accounted for under the head of permanent and pensionable. They are not, in fact, permanent and pensionable. So you will see throughout this budget that there will be a new line called contractual workers. And so if there are contractual workers in a ministry, that's where those existing contractual workers will be accounted for.
Further questions on Head 35?
Yes, one question, page 247. Item 911171, the school board for Jack Haywood. I just note that there have been no other increases to school boards throughout the Commonwealth, and I note that there's only that one school that received an increase. It's not an objection, but we just wish to
clarification.
Clarification on explanation as to.
Thank you, Senator Hunt. Are you asking a question on behalf of Senator Thompson or on your own behalf? It's Grand Bahamas, I was wondering. Thank you.
The accounting. Sorry, Senator Thompson doesn't want more money, Jack Hill?
You can take it back.
What the indication is what it is that thank you for picking it up, Senator Hunt. The indication is that Jack Haywood's board has taken on certain other responsibilities. Those responsibilities, we agree that should be funded for the benefit of the school and the children, and that's what that's all about.
Further questions? Head 35.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. At page 248, at item 911198, the after-school program. The after-school program in 2010 was at $600,000, 2011 at $500,000, in 2012 at $600,000. It is now being decreased to $292,000. I did hear the minister this question was raised in the House, and the minister indicated that coaching allowances or coaching fees were being deducted from the after-school program, and coaching fees were being placed someplace else. I understand that. And when I looked at the coaching allowance, it only amounted to $150,000. So it still does not cover all of the deductions with respect to the after-school program. And I know that the government would want to put as much funds as possible into after-school programs, given that our after-school programs are very valuable. So we would want to know what the reasoning is for, even after you take out the coaching, you still have a $100,000 deduction, which we want to know why.
Senator Gibson.
In addition to what you have said, you understood, Minister, the
Senator.
Minister in his church. The figure there is consistent with what's being spent at the moment, and also I'm being told that the Head 47, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, also has funding for after-school programs in its budget. So we're satisfied that when you look at the overall picture, that it's absolutely sufficient money being spent to support our young people.
Further questions on the Head 35? The question is that Head 35 do now be agreed as no. Please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 35 has been agreed.
I move that Heads 36 and 37 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that Heads 36 and 37 be agreed. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Heads 36 and 37 have been agreed.
I move that Head 38 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that Head 38 be agreed. As many? Chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At page 273, this will be under block 90 at item 933100, COD special in-service training courses for teachers. Given the commitment that this government has made with respect to taking the College of the Bahamas to university status, in addition to wanting to do all we can to assist the College of the Bahamas, could the government explain why you would reduce a in-service training courses for teachers at the College of the Bahamas by $137,000, given the fact that in previous years there was $200,000 allocated for it in 2010. It did go down to $80,000 in 2011, but it went back up to $237,000. And would we not want to, even if only $100,000 was going to be or was spent in last year, would we not want to expand that program and use those additional funds to make sure that our teachers get the best training at the College of the Bahamas?
Mr. Chairman, we agree that our teachers should get the best training at the College of the Bahamas and that we should attract the best teachers. There's no question about it. What this item does is reflect the sums that are actually being spent, and I would like him to know that, as he said, this is for in-service training, people who are already teachers. So we can already project what's likely to happen in this budget year, and we project, if you look at the year 11-12, that's not significantly off of that. So we project that that's likely to be the sum spent for those who are on in-service training this year.
Further questions on the head 38? Chair recognizes Senator Hunt.
Yes, block 90, page 272, line item 912120, the contribution to the University of the West Indies. We ask whether the government, well, in light of the reduction of $1.3+ million in the allocation, whether the government has reduced the number of students that it subsidizes to attend the University of the West Indies.
Thank you.
That figure is again projected to be an actual. It's based upon the billings that we received historically. Thank you.
Further questions on the head 38?
Yes.
Senator Hunt.
Page 273, still in block 90, item number 931400, interest subsidy, education guarantee loan. We did raise this during our contributions, but now ask the question, in light of the reduction of $1,850,000, whether the government intends to continue to pay the 50% of the interest of the students who are on these education guarantee loan, as was previously done by the former administration.
Thank you, Senator Hunt.
It is intended that all contractual commitments, where is it again? Interest subsidy.
400.
All contractual commitments will be honored. We would ask that colleagues, and most especially Senator Hunt, who asked the question, note that the line above government scholarships has increased by $1 million, and to also recall that as loans are paid down, the interest amount is decreasing. And so that's reflected there. It's not an attempt to really adversely impact anybody.
Thank you.
Further questions on the head 38? The question is that head 38 do now be agreed. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those against, no. Head 38 has been agreed.
I move that heads 3944 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that heads 39 through 44 be agreed. As many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Heads 39-344 has or have been agreed.
I move that head 45 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Head 45 be agreed. As many?
She's fine with 45. She's fine with 45.
No question.
The question is that head 45 be agreed. As many as are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Head 45 has been agreed.
I move that head 47 be agreed.
Seconded.
The question is that
47, 47.
the question is that head 47 be agreed. It's been moved and seconded. As many? The chair recognizes Senator Hunt.
Yes. We note that in last year's budget there was a line item for the National Sports Authority, and we found no line item for the National Sports Authority in this year's budget, and we'd ask the government to explain how the National Sports Authority will be funded for this budget period.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that expenditure has been moved over there to head 47, the capital expenditure.
Thank you, Senator Gibson. Further questions under head 47?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number, we're on page number 325, still in block 90. Item number 911430, title of item is 300 Connect. This is a new line item. It has the same budget allocation as the Volunteer Bahamas program had in the last budget. We want to know whether the 300 Connect is a replacement of the Volunteer Bahamas, and how is that program to be implemented? Well, it is implemented, but what is the difference, really, is the question, between Volunteer Bahamas and 300 Connect? We notice it's the same budget allocation as was in the last budget.
I undertake to get some details about the program for the member.
Further questions under head 47? The question is that head 47 do now be agreed. As many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 47 has been agreed.
I move that heads 48 through 65 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved.
Sorry, okay. 48 through 55 be agreed.
Is that seconded? Senator Bell?
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that heads 48 through 55 be now be agreed. That's all right? Have a question, Senator Hunt?
No, we have to vote on it.
Okay. As many that are in favor that heads 48 to 55 be agreed, will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Heads 48 through 55 have been agreed.
I move that head 56 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 56 be agreed.
Second.
As many? Chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, at page 375, it's post 37, under janitress or janitor. There is an allocation of 45,566, but there are 0 persons in the post. I'm sure that that's not what it should be, but could the government indicate to us what that should be, and how many persons do they anticipate filling this post of janitress, and are these new posts that will be filled? But at present it has 0, 0, and we're sure that that's not what the government is intending.
Yeah, I'm sure that it isn't, and I will get the details of how many and get back to the member.
Further questions on the head 56? The question is that head 56 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Votes against, no. Head 56 has been agreed.
I move that heads 57 through 55 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that heads 57 through 65 be now agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Heads 57 through 65 have been agreed.
I move that head 66 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 66 do now be agreed. As many?
Thank you, Mr.
Chair
Chairman.
recognizes Senator Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, at page 428, Block 1, item 011100, salary contractual workers. I know that the Attorney General had indicated previously that these are persons who have moved, who were in post and just moved, and we just want to confirm that this is the same position, that these are persons who...
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Any other questions on head 66? The question is that head 66 to now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay.
I move head 67 be agreed.
Has been agreed.
I move that head 67 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 67 be agreed. As many?
No questions.
The question is that head 67 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 67 has been agreed.
I move that head 68 through 73 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that heads 68 through 73 be now agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Votes against, no. Heads 68 through 73 have been agreed.
I move that head 74 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 74 be agreed. As many?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At page 468, at block 80, line item 892300, under title Urban Redevelopment. Obviously, the Ministry of Grand Bahamas is a new ministry, and in last year's budget, there was allocated $1,750,000 for urban redevelopment, and I was actually very encouraged that, especially in the inner city in Grand Bahama and inner city of Freeport areas, that we would have seen some advancement as a result of the 1.7. it is now being reduced by 750, and does that assist, or would that assist with any expansion of the urban development project?
We want to indicate again, Mr. Chair, that these sums reflect what billings or what we accurately project will be spent. As regards the particular Grand Bahama and islands such as Grand Bahama, I just want to remind the statements of the Prime Minister, and that is that we will be coming back with revenue measures, and we will be coming back with further expenditure measures. So in the event that it's necessary to spend more than we have projected, then that we will come back to the Parliament approval of those expenditures. Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
Seconded.
The question is that the bill in its entirety do now be agreed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of the long and short title of the Appropriation Capital Development Bill.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that the Appropriations Capital Bill 2013-2014, Bill 2013, long and short title, do now be agreed. As many as in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. The Appropriation Capital Development 2013-2014 Bill 2013 has been agreed.
I move the heads 11 to 32 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded the heads 11 through 65 be agreed. Sorry, my apologies. 11 through 32 be agreed. As many that are in favor, will say aye.
Aye.
Those against? No. Heads 11 through 32 have been agreed.
I move that head 33 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 33 be agreed. As many? The chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, at page 13 of the capital estimates, at item 731210, construction and configuration of Supreme Court buildings. This item has been reduced by $1,875,141. We support the government's intention to construct or to refurbish or to create the additional courts, but I wonder if it would not have been better to leave the $1.8 million in the budget to assist with the construction of the new courts rather than deduct the 1.8 in this budget. So given your commitment to do it, and we support your commitment to increase the costs, I'm just wondering why would the government decrease the amount of money that is being spent on construction and refiguration of Supreme Court buildings?
This is a capital expenditure that relates largely to the savings effected in the contract awarded for the refurbishment of Ansbach House. In relation to the new courts, once we know how many new courts the Chief Justice will agree and how many judges he would like to have, we'll be able to then make an accurate estimate of what we will need to expend.
Further questions under head 33, capital development?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at page 14, There is an item 741520, Bahama Mix, and there's allocated $8 million for Bahama Mix. Could the government indicate what that allocation is for?
In response to the question, Mr. Chair, in this particular budget, all that has happened is it is actually being separated, so you would actually see the actual expenditure for each line item. This is all part of the road project. That's, yes.
Further questions under head 33?
Yes. Item number 741400, the QE Sports Center redevelopment project. That's at the top of page 14. We'd like an explanation, please, from the government with that budget allocation of $5 million and a bit. What part or what phase of the redevelopment project do you expect to undertake in this budget period with the allocation presented in the budget?
We would undertake, Mr. Chair, to get that answer and return with it.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Yes. Same page, item 741800, the implementation of the traffic study, the budget allocation $1,250,000. We'd like an explanation of what aspect of the traffic study in particular would be implemented in this budget period.
Mr. Chair, we would also undertake to return to the answer for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Further questions?
Thank you. Page 15. Item 892300, small house repair and urban. Yes, page 15. Small house repair and urban renewal program.
Okay.
The allocation we know is $10 million. We generally would like an explanation of how the $10 million will be spent, but specifically, the small house repair, we'd like to know whether that program will be administered through the urban renewal program or the Ministry of Works. In other words, the co-chairpersons, is that something that falls within their ambit? Who is selected, and contractors and the bidding process and all of that? Is that totally under the remit of the co-chairs, or whether those repairs will still be issued in the normal process by the Ministry of Works? Further, in relation to the urban renewal program, we just would like specific reference to whether the allocation is sufficient to man and fully staff the more than 9 centers operational. Thank you.
Senator Bell?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, you could never have enough money. But the fact is, Mr. Chair, the $10 million will be allocated through the Ministry of Works and Urban Development for the Urban Renewal Program. But it should be noted that in terms of accountability, that the same processes that currently exist within the ministry, in terms of in terms of spending those funds and ensuring that there is actual accountability in terms of where the funds are spent, how they are spent, ensuring that there's proper documentation. That would be done through the Ministry of Works' existing compliance section.
Okay, so just a further follow-up
Thank
to
you.
that.
Senator Hunt.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Has there been a demarcation of funds, a certain number for small house repairs and a certain number for urban renewal, or that there's not been a separation as to what amount is earmarked out of the 10 million for small house repairs and what amount out of that 10 million is earmarked to the program?
Mr. Chair, we would undertake again to respond in due course.
Thank you.
Further questions on the head 33? The question is that head 33 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 33 has been agreed.
Is it your 147? You move that heads 38 through 45 be agreed.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that heads 38 through 45 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Heads 38 through 45 have been agreed.
I move that head 47 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 47 be agreed. As many?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, during the recurring expenditure section, I asked about the removal of the line item of the National Sports Authority, and the AG indicated that that was moved to the capital development, but there's not a specific line item for the National Sports Authority. So again, I asked the question, how the National Sports Authority would be funded. And it's not an issue as to the, because we see here that there are items here that they no doubt have to administer, but I mean the statutory body itself.
Well, this is how this is where the look here. You see the significant. Sorry? You're satisfied? Yeah. Okay, good. Can I just answer that you asked the question in the head 56, just to say that there are 3 down for superimposed.
Further questions on the 47? The question therefore is that head 47 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Head 47 has been agreed.
I move that heads 52 to 65 be agreed.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that head 52 through 65 do be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Heads 52 through 65 have been agreed.
Can you go ahead?
Please proceed. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that the long and short title for a bill for the Stamp Amendment Bill, for an act for the Stamp Amendment Bill 2013 be agreed.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act, long and short title, do now here be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against? No. A bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
Mr. Chair, I move that clause 2 of a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act be agreed.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that clause 2 of the bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act, long and short title, be agreed.
Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Senator Gibson.
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 2, subsection, the subclause 2 of section 3B be deleted and be replaced by the following words. An application under subsection 1 shall not be made where the value of the property and dwelling house exceed $500,000. And if I may explain the reason for this amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, persons have found it is the intention of the government to promote and encourage first home ownership. Persons have found that there has not been clarity when they have gone to the ministry to obtain the benefit under this act. And it is our intention to make it clear that persons may choose whether they wish to use the benefit to stamp a conveyance or a mortgage, or focusing on the value of the property. So it's not confined to conveyances and mortgages. It gives much greater clarity to the government's intention to for persons to benefit under this clause, so long as their transaction is under $500,000, however it is combined. And I want to say also that to promote further clarity, it is the intention of the minister to promulgate guidelines for how this section will be administered as soon as is possible.
Thank you. The question is that clause 2, as amended, be now agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Clause 2 has been amended. For the votes?
Mr. Chair, I move that section 3, clause 3 of the bill for an act to amend the Stamp Amendment Bill B 2013 be agreed.
Second.
This is the same one.
I have an amendment.
It's been moved and seconded that clause 3 do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Clause 3 of the amendment has been agreed. For the votes? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that clause 4 of the said bill be agreed.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I move the amendment so that in paragraph B, in item 51A, the words are converted into foreign currency and be inserted after the word per annum. And the reason for this, Mr. Chair, is to bring greater clarity to the fact that this only applies to where there is a conversion to foreign currency.
It's been moved and seconded. That clause 4 do now be agreed as amended. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Clause 4 has been agreed as amended.
Mr. Chair, I move that the bill in its entirety be accepted as amended.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be now agreed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed as amended.
Mr. Chair, I move that the long and short title for an act to amend real property tax be accepted.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that an act to amend the Real Property Tax Act, long and short title, be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no.
Chair, I move
An
that
act to amend the Real Property Tax Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
Chair, I move that Section 2, Clause 2 of the said bill be agreed.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the clause 2 be deleted.
It has been agreed, so it's been moved and seconded that clause 2 be deleted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Clause 2 has been deleted.
I move, Mr. Chair, that Clause 3 be agreed.
It's been moved and seconded that clause 3 be agreed.
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 19, that clause 3 as drafted be deleted, and that a new section 19A be inserted, reading, the shall hold liability of mortgagee in respect of commercial property, where, on the substantive part of the clause, where a tax or surcharge in respect of property used for commercial purposes and mortgaged under deed of mortgage executed before or after the coming into operation of this section remains unpaid for a period in excess of 90 days, the mortgagee of the commercial property shall pay all taxes and surcharges owed in respect of the property.
It has been moved and seconded clause 3, which deletes 19A, and a new section inserted. Be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The new section inserted has been agreed in 19A.
Mr. Chair, I move that the bill be accepted in its entirety.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety agreed. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
Mr. Chairman, I move the acceptance of the long and short title of the Business License Amendment Bill. Amendment number 3 bill.
It has been moved and seconded that the Business License Amendment number 3 Bill 2013 short and long title be now agreed. As many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Business License Amendment number 3 Bill 2003 long and short title has been agreed.
I move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. For the bills,
Mr. Chair, I move that the long and short title of a bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act number 30 of 2013 be agreed.
it has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act, long and short title, do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. A bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
Mr. Chair, I move that the bill be agreed in its entirety.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. For the bills,
I move the acceptance of the long and short title of a bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act.
it has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act, long and short title, do now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. A bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
I move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. For the bills,
Mr. Chair, I move that the long and short title for the Electricity Amendment Bill 2013 be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act, long and short title, do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. A bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
Mr. Chair, I move that the bill be accepted in its entirety.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. The bill has been agreed in its entirety.
I move the acceptance of the long and short title of a bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act, long and short title, do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. A bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
I move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety do now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill has been agreed in its entirety. Further bills?
Mr. Chair, I move that the long and short title for the Insurance Amendment Bill 2013 be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of Excess Surplus Funds, long and short title, do now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has, the bill long and short title has been agreed.
Mr. Chair, I move that the bill be accepted in its entirety.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety do now be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
I move the acceptance of the long and short title of the Bahamas Maritime Authority Amendment Bill.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill for an act to amend the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of Excess Surplus Funds, long and short title, be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill, long and short title, has been agreed.
I move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. For the bills?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move for the acceptance of the long and short title of the Utilities, Regulation and Competition Authority Amendment Bill 2013.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Utilities, Regulation and Competition Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of Excess Surplus Funds, long and short title, be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill, long and short title, has been agreed.
Mr. Chair, I move that the bill be accepted in its entirety.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
I remove the acceptance of the long and short title of the Clifton Heritage Authority Amendment Bill.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Clifton Heritage Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of Excess Surplus Funds, long and short title, be now agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill, long and short title, has been agreed. Entirety.
I move that the bill in its entirety, the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. Further bills.
I move, Mr. Chair, for the acceptance of the long and short title of the Bridge Authority Amendment Bill 2013.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill for an act to amend the Bridge Authority Act to provide for the payment into Consolidated Fund of Excess Surplus Funds, long and short title, be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill, long and short title, has been agreed.
I move that the bill, Mr. Chairman, be accepted in its entirety.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be now agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
I move the acceptance of the long and short title of the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Bill 2013.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Financial Administration and Audit Act to provide for the establishment of a public procurement department within the Ministry of Finance and for connected matters, long and short title, be now agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill long and short title has been agreed.
I move the bill in its entirety be agreed.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. For the
Chair.
bills?
Mr. Chair, I move for the acceptance of the long and short title of the Savings Bank Amendment Bill 2013.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act, long and short title, be now agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. A bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
Chair, I move that the bill be accepted in its entirety.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. For the bills.
Mr. Chairman, I move the acceptance of the long and short title of the Police Force Amendment Bill.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act, long and short title, do now be agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. A bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
I move that the bill in its entirety be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be now agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed. For the bills.
Mr. Chair, I move for the acceptance of the long and short title of the Firearms Amendment Bill 2013.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act, long and short title, be now agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act, long and short title, has been agreed.
Chair, I move that the bill be accepted in its entirety.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety be now agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety has been agreed.
I move the acceptance of the long and short title of the Excise Bill.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that an act to provide for the imposition and collection of excise taxes and for connected purposes, long and short title, be now agreed. As many that are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill, long and short title, has been agreed.
I move that the bill in its entirety, including schedules, be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety with schedules be now agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety with schedules have been agreed.
I move the acceptance of the long and short title of the Tariff Bill.
It has been moved and seconded that an act to make new provisions for the imposition and collection of customs duties and give effect to the harmonized system of tariff and for connected purposes, long and short title, be now agreed. As many that are in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill, in its long and short title, has been agreed.
I move that the bill in its entirety together with schedules be agreed.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill in its entirety with schedules be now agreed. As many that are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The bill in its entirety with schedules has been agreed. For the bills?
There are no further. I move that the President do now take the chair.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the President do now resume the chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. Madam President, the committee of the whole has gone through all of the bills. There have been two amendments. One with respect to the stamp bill 2013, and the other with respect to the real property tax amendment bill 2013. Both have been approved.
Third reading and passing of bills.
Mr. Chair, Madam President, I move the third reading and passing of the appropriation revenue account expenses 2013-14 bill 2013.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act for the appropriation of diverse sums of money for and towards defraying the expenses of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas on revenue account for the financial year commencing 1st July 2013 and ending 30th of June 2014 be read a third time and passed. Ordered that the bill now be read.
A bill for an act of appropriation of various sums of money for and towards defraying the expenses of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas on revenue account for the financial year commencing the 1st of July 2013 and ending the 30th of June 2014.
This bill now passes, and the short title thereof is declared to be the Appropriation Revenue Account Expenses 2013-2014 Act 2013. Further third readings.
Madam President, I move that the third reading and passing of a bill for an act for the appropriation of a sum of $295,190,261 for and towards defraying the expenses of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for the capital development for the financial year ending 30th of June 2014.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act for the appropriation of the sum of $295,190,261 for and towards defraying the expenses of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for capital development for the financial year ending the 30th of June 2014 be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ordered that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act for the appropriation of the sum of $295,190,261 for and towards defraying the expenses of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for capital development for the financial year ending the 30th of June 2014.
This bill is now passed, and the short title of it is declared the Appropriation Capital Development 2013-2014 Act 2013. Further, third readings.
Madam President, I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that this bill now be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Stamp Act.
This bill is now passed, and the short title of it is declared to be the Stamp Act, Chapter 370, and the Stamp Amendment Act, Chapter 2013. Further, third readings.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Real Property Tax Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that there be a third reading of a bill to amend the Real Property Tax Act. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Real Property Tax Act.
This bill now passes, and the short title thereof declared to be the Real Property Tax Amendment Bill 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Business License Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Business License Act be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that this bill now be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Business License Act.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Business License Amendment Number 3 Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that this bill now be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Customs Management Act.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Customs Management Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of the Family Islands Development Encouragement Amendment Act 2013.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and it is now ordered that this bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Family Islands Development Encouragement Act.
This bill now passes, and the short title thereof declared to be the Family Islands Development Encouragement Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of the Electricity Amendment Bill, a bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act.
Seconded, Madam President.
It has been moved and seconded that there be a third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it. Ordered now that this bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Electricity Act.
This bill now is passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Electricity Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act.
Seconded.
The question is now that a bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act be read third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that the bill now be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the City of Nassau Revitalization Act.
This bill now is passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the City of Nassau Revitalization Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded, Madam President.
It is moved and seconded that there be a third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that the bill now be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Insurance Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
This bill passes, and the short title thereof is declared to be the Insurance Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that the bill for an act to amend the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds be read a third time and pass. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Bahamas Maritime Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Bahamas Maritime Authority Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Utilities Regulation Competition Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered now that this bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Clifton Heritage Authority Act to provide for the payment into the Consolidated Fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Clifton Heritage Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Clifton Heritage Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Clifton Heritage Authority Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Bridge Authority Act to provide for the payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Bridge Authority Act to provide for payment into the consolidated fund of excess surplus funds be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Bridge Authority Act to provide for the payment into consolidated funds of excess surplus funds.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Bridge Authority Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Financial Administration and Audit Act to provide for the establishment of a public procurement department within the Ministry of Finance and for connected purposes.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Financial Administration and Audit Act to provide for the establishment of a public procurement department within the Ministry of Finance and for connected matters be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it, and it is ordered now that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Financial Administration and Audit Act to provide for the establishment of a public procurement department within the Ministry of Finance and for connected matters.
This bill is now passed. The short title is declared to be the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Savings Bank Act.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof declared to be the Savings Bank Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act be read third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it, and it is now ordered that this bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Police Force Act.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof is declared to be the Police Force Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act.
Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act.
This bill is now passed, and its short title is declared the Firearms Amendment Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to provide for the imposition and collection of excise taxes and for connected purposes.
Seconded.
It is moved and seconded that a bill for an act to provide for the imposition and collection of excise taxes and for connected purposes be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes, nay. The ayes have it. Ordered now that this bill be read for a third time.
A bill for an act to provide for the imposition and collection of excise taxes for connected purposes.
This bill is now passed, and the short title thereof is declared to be the Excise Act 2013.
I move the third reading and passing of a bill for an act to make new provisions for the imposition and collection of customs duties to give effect to the harmonized system of tariff and for connected purposes.
Seconded, Madam President.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to make new provisions for the imposition and collection of customs duties and to give effect to the harmonized system of tariff and for connected purposes be read a third time and passed. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposes, nay. The ayes have it. Ordered that the bill be read a third time.
A bill for an act to make new provisions for the imposition and collection of custom duties and to give effect to the harmonized system of tariff and for connected purposes.
This bill is now passed, and the short title of the bill is declared to be the Tariff Act 2013.
There are no further third readings, Madam President.
Consideration of House amendments, resolutions.
Madam President, I move the adoption of a resolution that is to enable, Madam President, the repair of the stricken property on Prospect Ridge for judges' housing on Sanford Drive, and it will enable the transfer to the National Insurance Board to enable those renovations to take place. With your permission, may I just read the first and the last paragraph? Whereas the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, hereinafter called the Treasurer, a corporation sole established under Section 4.1 of the Ministry of Finance Act, Chapter 23, Revised Statute of the Bahamas, hereinafter called the said Act, is seized in fee simple in trust for Her Majesty in right of her government of the said Commonwealth for public purposes of the hereditaments described in the first and second schedules hereto, hereinafter collectively called the said hereditaments. Now therefore be resolved that pursuant to Section 5.3a of the said Act, this House approves the conveyance by the Treasurer to the purchase of the said hereditaments for a price to be mutually agreed in the said currency. And just for the record, Madam President, the purchaser is the National Insurance Board.
The question is that the following resolution be, as moved, be agreed upon. Whereas the Treasurer of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, hereinafter called the Treasurer, a corporation sole established under Section 4.1 of the Ministry of Finance Act, Chapter 23, Revised Statute Law of the Bahamas 2000, hereinafter called the Act, is seized in fee simple in trust for Her Majesty in right of her government and the said Commonwealth for public purposes of the hereditaments described in the first and second schedules hereto, collectively called the said hereditaments. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Section 5.3a of the said act, the House approves the conveyance by the treasurer to the purchaser of the said hereditaments for a price to be mutually agreed in the said currency. As many as are in favor of the resolution should say aye.
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 Seconded.
Seconded.
Yes. The resolution has been moved and seconded. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers should say nay. Resolution is passed. Discharge of select committees. Notice for future meetings.
Madam President, it is in my intention at the adjournment to move that the business of the House be adjourned sine die. Business of the Senate be adjourned sine die.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Orders for clerk. Adjournment.
Madam President, just before I move the adjournment, with your leave, I would just like to mark the passing of 3 people. One is, since we last met, one is the former financial secretary. As we go through a budget process, we have to think about Mr. Ehud Cunningham, someone who certainly all of us would have experienced the skill and patience and commitment and patriotism that he brought to service of his country, not just in his capacity as financial secretary, but in many other capacities as well. He certainly served with distinction. We wish we indicate to his family our appreciation of his national service, and we pray that his soul will rest in peace.
Amen.
I also want to mark the passing of Mr. Aubrey Curley. We speak about this wonderful asset, BTC, and I don't think anybody disagrees that it is a wonderful asset. It was called during the debate by Senator Smith, the crown jewel of the Bahamas. And persons like Mr. Curling and others were at the formation when it was planted as a seed at the Department of Telecommunications. And I spoke about my age earlier on, but I heard about when it was over there on East Street, the Department of Telecoms, and Mr. Curling and others built it. Other Bahamians, Madam President, into the crown jewel of which we are so proud. We want to express our sympathy to his family also, and to thank them for his national service. And finally, Madam President, I wish to mark the passing of Dr. Cora Davis. The Davis family is well known in our community for their public service. Her brother-in-law, Sir Winston Taffy Davis, a knight of in the Catholic Church, is certainly also well known in the Catholic community. And as I think of Dr. Davis, who is to call Aunt Cora, this is another reminder to us, Madam President, especially as we move into the 40th anniversary of our independence, of the number of people who have moved to our country, made it their own, and made wonderful, wonderful contributions. And certainly, Dr. Davis, Aunt Cora, was one of those persons. And so we express our sympathy to her family also, and we pray that her soul also rest in peace.
Amen.
Madam President.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I also want to follow the lead of the Honorable Attorney General. I had mentioned in the debate that we build off of, and especially this being the 40 years, we build off of those persons who have labored. And we also send our most sincere condolences to the families of those who have departed. And on behalf of the opposition and Dr. Minnis, we do want to send our thoughts and prayers with the family.
Thank you, Honorable Members.
Madam President, I don't think we'll be sitting when we adjourn sine die before independence. So as I say, happy independence to everybody in this place, to you, Madam President. I also would like to thank the clerks who, I don't know how many times, Madam President, they've gone straight from, I don't know how many times they've gone straight from a 3 a.m. sitting the previous morning to straight to Senate. Normally first reading and then there's a break, but straight through. We really want to acknowledge that during independence and our 40th anniversary, we have great persons who serve here in our parliament. Mr. Tynes is, I think he wishes when I say the senior, it speaks about his age as well. But we are certainly very proud that there are clerks of parliaments all over this Commonwealth, of the Commonwealth of Nations, not the Bahamas, that call our senior clerk in our parliament to ask for advice on how to conduct proceedings. And certainly his insistence, or the insistence of his entire team, Mr. Ramming, Ms. Brown in her absence, and others, is deeply appreciated. Happy independence, everybody. I move that the business of the Senate be adjourned sine die.
Seconded, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam Government Leader, for your kind remarks, which I'm sure you echo on behalf of all present. And now, the business of, it is moved and seconded, that the business of this chamber stand adjourned sine die. As many as are in favor should say aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The business of this chamber now stands adjourned sine die.
Well, that ends debate here in the Senate. 2013-2014 budget. Debate is over. The House and the Senate yesterday and today. Now it's on to the Governor General, those budget bills for his signature, so that the country can have money to conduct this business beginning July 1st, a little over a week from now. Again, as we head into the 40th anniversary of independence, and you heard the leader of government business in the Senate, the Honorable Allison Maynard Gibson, and the person wrapping up for the opposition, Senator Crazy Thompson, all speaking to that occasion that all of us in the Bahamas are looking forward to on July 10th. Again, the 2013-2014 budget, $1.4 billion in recurrent expenses, and $295 million in capital expenses for the year 2013-2014. Accompanying those two budget bills, of course, 17 additional bills, amendments to the Stamp Act, to the Police Act, to the Firearms Act, all of those designed to assist with the budget, specifically the revenue side, in most cases, as they go into the year 2013-2014. 17 of those bills passed as well, along with the primary appropriation bills. Again, of course, the Senate has been adjourned sine die, which means that it will wait, as usual, for whatever comes from the House of Assembly. We know that the House meets next Wednesday, June 26th, when they will be debating the National Training Agency bill, because that is something that the government wishes to bring into force at the end of the month. And again, of course, that is next weekend. We're talking about the end of the month, and preparations for that National Training Agency, which is important, as we know, and the Prime Minister and all members of the government have said, because that training agency is going to help to take care of a void that we have, and that is a lot of Bahamians who need training. And we know why that training is necessary in addition to any normal training that will happen. We talk about jobs, and Prime Minister Christie had a whole list of places that he expects will be opening soon. In fact, next Friday, Prime Minister Christie will be opening the new Resorts World Casino in Bimini. And he says that is 400 jobs right away. Of course, that casino can absorb workers from Bimini as well as workers from Grand Bahama, because we know the problems they've been having in Grand Bahama for the longest time. A lot of those casino workers, the Isle of Capri has in effect been non-operational for a while now, so a lot of those workers will have some place to go. But as much as anything else, you're talking about helping to train and prepare workers for the Bahamas project, which is due to be open at the end of 2014. So that national training agency, again, expected to be headed by the former MP for South Beach, Agatha Marcel. She will be the director. That is expected to play a very important role in the life of Bahamians going forward. Again, lots of initiatives and projects really advanced during this whole budget debate. Some things to do with, and we all know, crime. Everybody's talking about crime. And the Attorney General, the leader of government business here in the Senate, who's going to join me in a moment, talked about, for example, and this was first announced by Prime Minister Christie, the desire and the plan to introduce 20 additional judges. Maybe not right away, but that is the plan, to help to hopefully have 10 criminal cases going at a time, try and address some of that backlog in the judiciary that they've been dealing with for a while. As I told you, the leader of government business in the Senate, Senator the Honorable Allison Maynard Gibson, is now going to join me. Senator Gibson, it's over, and as you said, it didn't take forever. You've addressed, and you think satisfactorily addressed, any concerns that Bahamians watching, listening to the budget that was presented by Prime Minister Christie, any questions or concerns that they may have had?
I hope I...
Yeah, you think you and your other fellow senators, you think you addressed them adequately?
I hope so. I mean, I do think that, as I said in my closing remarks, everybody in the Senate is very, very committed, very hardworking. And so even though there were concerns expressed by some members in the opposition, and that we predicted that there would be, and the Prime Minister predicted they would be, I don't doubt their patriotism at all. I do believe that they love their country just as much as we do, and that's the wonderful thing about a democracy. It's peaceful, and it is their right to ask as many questions and complain as much as they want. At the end of the day, the Bahamian people see, feel, and touch what it is our Prime Minister is trying to accomplish. They fully understand the plans. They respect the fact and admire the fact that Moody's, an international agency with no axe to grind at all, no interest really, has expressed their view and with compliments about the budget. And they fortuitously, as we end the budget today, they see yet again this government's commitment, as acknowledged internationally by the upgrading, I call it, by the United States on the TIP list.
Again, very important upgrade.
It is. There are 4 tiers, as Dr. Nottage would have said, the Minister of National Security. There are 2 within the tier 2, and we really were on the precipice, and had we been on that tier 2 watch for a 3rd year, we would have been downgraded, and we could possibly have lost some significant ability to attract international aid, and that would have been devastating for the country.
Speak to that for a moment, because I want people to understand that. The fact that the Bahamas, as independent as we are, we depend a lot on international aid, whether it's from the IDB or from someone else.
Well, the Inter-American Development Bank serves us and other member countries. And there are very few countries that do not depend on international aid. Even the great United States of America, some people say, is owned by China. simply because when they put out bonds to raise money, the Chinese government actually buys their bonds. So we just have to recognize that actually we live in a world where there is significant interconnectedness, and the thing about the tip is that we have demonstrated unequivocally our commitment not only to honor international commitments, but to abide by the rule of law. Because our law, we have a trafficking in persons law, so we've demonstrated unequivocally our commitment to honor our laws and to promote law and order and justice in our community.
I know you had a long day. I'm going to let you go. But before I do, talking about the law, you the law, the Attorney General, speak for a moment, because of course you had occasion to speak a lot about your portfolio and the things that you're doing. And I mentioned in my intro just a while ago the introduction of 20 new judges. So speak to me a little bit about some of the things that you're doing and that you thought it important to highlight in your presentations.
Well, it is the expanding of the number of judges to 20.
To 20.
The ability to have up to 20 judges. So we can have 20 judges. And I want to stress that the law will be in place. Hopefully it has to be passed. It is our intention to bring it to Parliament, once approved by Cabinet, the Prime Minister said, and he expects it to be, that it is up to the Chief Justice now to decide that he wishes to fill those posts. We hope that, and indications are, that those posts will be filled, as the Prime Minister indicated. In our commitment to break the back of crime, we believe that it is important to make it possible, so we will subvent or fund the ability to have 10 judges sitting on the criminal side of the Supreme Court at the same time, and we will bring to fund the operational and administrative capacity to support the effectiveness of that effort. We don't appoint the judges, and the judiciary does. We just want to support the ability for that to happen. And as the Prime Minister said, that strategy is a very significant one in our crime-fighting arsenal.
Okay. And of course you have pointed out swift justice is working.
Absolutely working. The reason I've given the evidence, I talked about how more matters are being brought on for trial reliably and consistently. I talked about the uptick in the conviction rate, and I also spoke about the fact that there has been a significant decrease at a time for the presentation of VBIs from the date of charge to the date of presentation of the VBI. So we are very, very grateful. I'm very grateful to the entire Swift Justice team, the members in the Office of the Attorney General who worked very, very hard, the DPP and her team. And I also thank the Prime Minister and all of my colleagues for supporting us in our thrust. And of course, last but not least, we thank the judges also who are both in the Court of Appeal and in the Supreme Court. They're very hardworking, they are committed, they are patriotic, and all of us would like to see the rule of law prevail in our country. Everybody does. That's why we thank them also.
Thank you very much, Madam Attorney General.
Thanks for the great work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Attorney General, the leader of the government business in the Senate, just wrapping up the deliberations here in the Senate. I'm now joined by the person who wrapped up for the opposition Free National Movement, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly, Senator Crazy Thompson. How are you doing, Senator Thompson?
I'm actually doing very good tonight.
Just finished the debate, of course. Heard you offer, and I thought I should point this out, you offered on behalf of your colleagues, not that anybody else didn't say it, you were prepared to do anything to assist, certainly with the crime situation, especially as we look now to 40 years and the need for all of us to cooperate.
Crime is a national problem. It's not a PLP problem or an FNM problem. It affects everyone. And because it affects everyone, it requires everyone to get on board. It requires everyone to do what they can to fix the problem. There was a time when the Free National Movement was blamed for crime. But I think in listening to the contribution from the Minister for National Security, who offered, I believe, his hand out to the opposition, our leader, Dr. Minnis, indicated that he was also prepared to get on board and to assist the government and do what is necessary. I believe there's an attitude now that urban renewal alone will not fix it. These other things alone will not fix it, but it is going to require all of the resources of the government, the private sector, the church, the opposition to get together, and we as a nation do what we can to combat this crime problem.
Budget debate is over, and lots of things in the budget. Of course, Prime Minister Christie making a lot of announcements and talking about the jobs. And somebody said to me, if all of these projects come to fruition, and Prime Minister Christie took great pains to point out that one of them is going to happen next Friday when he opens the Resorts World Casino in Bimini. We will have more jobs than we can fill.
Well, we hope so. I mean, those announcements that were made by the Prime Minister are future announcements. Take, for instance, the project in Grand Bahama. The announcement was made almost a year ago of the expansion of the Alukaya Hotel. We still await the construction of the new rooms. We still await those 1,000 jobs that was promised. We wait with bated breath. But we want this country to succeed. We want the economy to succeed. So we hope that those jobs do come on stream for the nation's sake. Unfortunately, some of the things in the budget we do not believe will spur the economy to grow.
And I want you to speak to some of them because that was my next question.
Yeah. Well, when we look at some of the tax increases that were included in the budget, we have a tax, an increase on the business license fees that are going to be paid. And the persons who are expected to pay this increase are the very same people who we expect to expand and to grow. And as a result, the economy grows. And unfortunately, a number of them have already come out and said that because of these business license increases, we won't be able to expand. We won't be able to hire additional persons. So unfortunately, the business license increase, I believe, will not help. You also have an increase on building permit fees. These affect contractors. These affect those persons who want to buy and build new houses, which also spurs the economy. That does not help. You also have customs processing fee, the new processing fee, where persons used to pay $10 and now will have to pay up to $500. And this affects small businesses, those businesses that have to import items to sell. Construction material then goes up, groceries goes up, retail items go up. And who is expected to pay for that? We, the Bahamian public. So we are being taxed. Then that means that, unfortunately, the economy will not grow. What we need is incentives. The Free National Movement saw that what we should do is to give small businesses incentives. So what we did was we gave small businesses a business license exemption. We said that we weren't going to charge them a business license fee because we wanted them to expand and we wanted them to grow. So I don't believe that some of those tax increases that have been put in the budget will help us and will help expand the economy or will bring any additional jobs.
And so on balance, you're saying, let's wait and see what happens.
Absolutely. You know, the government says a lot of things. And we, especially when it comes to those jobs that they say are going to be on stream, again, we hope so. We hope so. We want the economy to succeed because we want our people to be helped. We want our people to have additional jobs. We believe that the government is not going in the right direction when it comes to those tax increases. We believe they're not going in the right direction when it comes to some of the deductions with respect to training. We don't believe they're in the right direction with some of the deductions with respect to education. We don't think they should decrease after-school programs. We don't think that they should decrease some of the other items in the education budget, because in this time when we are recovering, we should be trying to spend more money on training and more money on education, because that's how our people advance. For instance, the government also deducted monies with respect to the FNM's self-starter project. And the Self-Starter Project is designed to give grants to young people to become entrepreneurs. So why are we taking money away from those young people who could be starting their own business to the tune of $200,000? That $200,000 could be spent, given to those young people, and those young people then create their own businesses.
Well, I'm sure somebody from the government will say, well, we're starting the National Training Agency. That should help with training.
Again, we hope so. Again, that's something that we believe in. We think it's a good thing to train our young people. We think it's a good thing to make sure that they are trained. But again, we hope that these things be brought on stream. But the budget can't send conflicting messages. The budget can't say on the one end we want to expand training, but then deduct things from the other side that will take away from training. If we are going to be focused, then budget exercises are all about focusing your priorities. And if we're going to say we are focused on training, then everything in the budget with respect to training, we ought to be advancing and not taking away.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Kwesi Thompson, who wrapped up for the Opposition Free National Movement in the budget debate that was just concluded. Again, as Senator Thompson says, the wait and see, the government says it's pretty confident and comfortable that its initiatives will bear fruit. For us, you will see us next Wednesday, June 26th, when members of the House will return. They're going to debate the bill to establish that national training agency that I just talked about. Prime Minister Christie planning to open that national training agency before the end of the month. Again, to have that begin operating around the 1st of July or the first part of July. Again, the executive director or the director of that national training agency is expected to be Ms. Agatha Marcel, former member for South Beach. And so, again, as Senator Thompson says, it's wait and see, but there are quite a number of projects that have been announced, and as I said, if they all come into fruition, we have a lot of jobs to fill. We'll have to see. And so, on behalf of the members of the team here for the Parliamentary Channel, I'm Anthony Newbold. I want to tell you good night. Thank you for watching, and again, you will see us back here next Wednesday, God's willing. Have a great night and a great weekend.